Oh, hey, everybody. Before we jump into this episode of the Optimal Performance Podcast, I want to give you guys a sweet offer. 15% off any purchase on naturalstacks.com. Use the code word MAC15, as in Mystic Mac, as in Shawnee Mac, as in moi, MAC15. Use that code and you get 15% off any purchase on Natural Stacks. But don't wait, there are only 20 of these codes available. While I'm at it, I'll tell you about two supplements that I really love. Number one, Siltep. It's my favorite. I've used Alpha Brains and Racetams and all sorts of cognitive enhancers and nootropics and modafinils and all sorts of stuff. And Siltep is by far my favorite, hands down. One of the other supplements that I've been really loving lately is the MycoImmune. And the MycoImmune is a really effective way to boost your immune system. Everybody in my family is sick. You probably detect a little bit of nasal from me. Well, this is as bad as it's gotten. Everybody in my house has a cold, not me. So again, use MAC15, MAC15 for 15% off your purchase.
You're listening to the Optimal Performance Podcast, and I'm your host, Sean McCormick. It's the OPP. I'm a performance coach, a wellness entrepreneur, a blogger, a speaker, a biohacker, and it's my privilege to bring to you the leading experts in the field of performance. So let's dig right in.
Optimal Performance Podcast. The OPP is brought to you by Natural Stacks, makers of 100% natural and open source supplements designed to help you live optimal. For more information on how to build optimal mental and physical performance into your life, go to naturalstacks.com. As always, guys, please share this, review it, tell us that you love it, tell your friends. It is my aim, it is our aim to just give you the best content week in and week out. And if you dig it, let us know. Send me an email personally, Sean@naturalstacks.com, SEAN, and let me know what you're thinking. Today's guest is Greg Hammond, and he is the marketing guy for Concept2. And for those of you who have been paying attention, you know that we're giving away a Concept2 rower at the end of the month, and we've paired it with a heart rate monitor that we really love. And, we decided to go right to the source. So we're going to talk wide-ranging from high-intensity interval training to why the rower kicks ass to how the heck you become a marketing guy for fitness equipment company. They're a small company out of Vermont, and we just have a lot of respect for them. So we're happy to have you here today, Greg. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks. That was a great intro.
Thanks. So let's just give us like the short story as to how you got involved with Concept2. You just told me a minute ago that the company is small in personnel, but big in scope. And I just want to hear tell me the Concept2 story.
Yeah, it's really a great thing because it's still a family-owned business. It's owned by the Dreissigacker brothers and their wives. There's actually 2 Olympians out of the 4. They're in rowing. They started in '76 with making carbon fiber racing oars, and then being from the Northeast, they needed to train for on-water rowing, and they needed a machine to train on, so they built one. It was essentially, if anyone goes on the website and looks on the history, it looked like a bicycle nailed to the barn floor. And it went from Model A to B to C to D, and now we're up to D's and E's now. But it's a global scale. We sell our oars and our rowing machines and our ski ergs and our bikes literally all over the world. But there's about 50 of us here in Vermont. That's the headquarters. So
nice. And how long have you been involved?
I've been here 21 years, and I'm still one of the new guys. Nobody ever tends to leave once they've been here. So
nice. What about the work that you do? What do you love about what you do?
Oh, it's we're surrounded by health conscious people who really believe in quality products, a way of life. I mean, we're in Vermont. It's probably not the most advantageous state to be in as far as getting things out globally, but we love it here. And my job is great because I'm literally friends with probably 99% of everybody I work with. We're just similar type people. Either we enjoy exercise or we enjoy human performance or, people just deciding to change their life for the better. And those are the people that we work with. So it's a very enjoyable job.
How are you a CrossFit guy, or how do you like to get your sweat?
It's these days. I've been an athlete my whole life. I was an endurance guy through high school and college, Nordic skiing and cross country running, but also had a rugby addiction. So I would go from being skinny and an endurance guy to hitting the weight room, playing a season of rugby, getting beat up, lean out, do that sort of thing. And then back around 2006 or 7, they needed somebody who had prior military service to teach rowing at Navy SEAL Bud School in Coronado for something called CrossFit, which we knew nothing about at the time. We just, they said, is there somebody there that can come and help us with our rowing? And I've always wanted to see, who's going to say no to that? So I was like, yeah, I'll go out. So I went out there. I taught rowing technique at a level 1, which I didn't know at the time was a level 1 CrossFit seminar for the Navy SEALs candidates going through Bud School. And that's kind of changed everything for me. Nobody was doing it in Vermont. Vermont was the last state, I think second to Wyoming, to get a CrossFit affiliate.
Huh.
So I came home to go back a little bit. So I was doing all the endurance stuff, and they had gymnastics ring for ring muscle ups like you see the gymnasts do. And they said, do you want to try it? And I was cocky athlete. I'm like, oh yeah, I got this all day. Couldn't do one. Got my butt kicked on a CrossFit workout that involved rowing. It was just had my tail between my legs, and I came home and basically started trying to teach myself how to do CrossFit. And I still do it about 4 to 5 times a week. And then on the off days, I use our products here at work. I'm surrounded by Concept2 equipment all the time, so it's around.
Yeah, I gotta imagine, like, every time you walk by a bike or a rower, you're like, man, I'll just jump out. I'll just get a couple reps in. Is that you, man? Is that you, Greg?
Well, certain times of the year we have the holiday challenge, which is max meters between Thanksgiving and Christmas, and we literally we'll drag a ski erg in our cubicle or a bike, and there's a little. It's really, you have a choice. You either do 100,000 or 200,000 meters, but within Concept2, there's always this bragging race to see who gets the most meters. So yeah, there's a lot of that. Every time you walk by, pull the ski erg handle a couple times, pull the rower handle a couple times, just to get it on your logbook so it counts. Yeah.
Who won this year?
I got over 200,000 and didn't even make the top 5. I think there's a guy here that did over 300 and something thousand. So the other nice thing at Concept2 that nobody gives you crap for working out. So it's, I won't mention any names, but there are people here that you see them in the workout room more than you see them at their desk. So.
I see that. I can see that as maybe you'd think a little job security, like, oh, I'm just testing. You guys don't bug me. I'll ship the orders later. I'm just gonna get a quick sweat.
It comes from the top too. The founders are incredibly fit people, and they work out. Like the 2 brothers, I don't think they've missed a day of working out in their life, and they're in their 60s. And it used to be you would be trying to get your work done, and the owners of the company would say, "Come on, let's go. We're going to go for a run," or "Come on, let's go. We're going to go for a workout." And you had to tell your boss that you couldn't go work out with them because you actually had to do work. So it was awkward.
Dude, that's awesome. I love that culture, and that's kind of tells the whole story. I mean, like, you guys mean it. You're involved in it. You're committed to it, and just even spending just a little time looking through your personal Instagram to see all of the athletes that use your guys' equipment. It must be just like a little shot of dopamine every time you see, Rich Froning or somebody, using the rower or the bike, I'm curious. So, me personally, I'm not a CrossFit guy. I played team sports growing up, and I do jujitsu and work out at home. But as I was looking at sort of the different rowers available, just doing my homework a little bit, yours is obviously, everywhere that I looked, it's like your guys is top of the line. It's the highest rated. It's got the fewest cons in the pro con list. Can you tell me because we're going to give one of these things away to some lucky listener. Can you tell me what distinguishes the Concept2 rower from some of the other top line rowers that are available?
Yeah, well, we've been lucky. I mean, we've been the top for 40 years, and a lot of it is its durability. That's what people like the most. Like, I think I actually found Ben on Instagram because he posted a picture, and it was like this mint condition Model C, which is now, 20 something years old, and it's nothing to see a Concept2 that's 20 years old and looks like it's brand new because we just build things the way things should be built. So durability, I would say, would be number one, and that's also something that I care about when I buy stuff. And then after that, over the years, our technology, as far as our monitors, it's so accurate. When we have people not making Olympic teams by hundreds of seconds on our monitors, we take it very, very seriously, the accuracy of our electronics. And it's really the part we hold most dear is the technology side of it. Luckily, I don't have to do anything with that. I trust the engineers that do that. For me, it's more about I know that when I get on it, if I do 30 minutes and today I go this far and tomorrow I go further, then at the same, energy output, I'm getting more fit. And that's one of the nice things, that if you use our equipment, you cannot not get fit. That's the thing, but you just have to use it. So there are other, rowing machines out there. We've kind of cornered the market on the ski erg, and then now the new bike erg, which is different than a normal bike. But as far as rowing machines go, it's really just us, and we don't take that lightly. We've never rested on that. We're always trying to make it better.
Yeah. Is there a specific advantage for grip strength athletes, people that are holding on to stuff, to use your guys' equipment?
Well, it's there might be. We've never done a study on or anything like that, but we look at who likes our stuff and who has a natural kind of like they just drawn to it.
Yeah.
And I actually raced a little bit of motocross, so there's a lot of and maybe it's because I've gone after that market a little bit like that. There's a lot of action sports athletes where grip is very, very important, that really kind of go towards our machines. But it's also because of the biomechanics, the fact that they're using their upper traps and their upper arms and the grip strength, along with being completely gassed doing cardio at the same time. I think it's a nice fit with jiu-jitsu and stuff, and those guys where grip strength is really important. The ski erg has always been a bigger one. We used to work with BJ Penn and his family, and we still have in the mixed martial arts world, the ski erg is probably still maybe a little bit more popular than the rower, although the rower's been around in boxing since, in combat sports since the probably, 85, 86, those guys were, and they were doing round simulation. So they were doing, 3-minute rounds with 1 minute rest. And they were trying to see how many meters they could get complete for, whether they're doing a 3-round or a 5-round, exhibition or whatever. So
fascinating.
Yeah. I wouldn't say grip strength is the primary thing. It's still always going to be, rowing is primarily quads. And so you can never get away without having strong quads in any sport. And so I think that's why the rower's kind of gone into every sport. It's not just rowing, and it's not just like one or two things. So
when are there pictures of like Tyson on a Concept2, and I just think back to 85, like who was in their heyday?
It wasn't, back then too, people might have noticed too that we don't really market, like we're not in magazines, and we don't
I noticed that.
You'll never see an infomercial. You'll never see a model on our equipment that isn't actually an athlete. Yeah. We will never spray sweat on an athlete for a picture. That's just not our deal. So a lot of the boxers and things like that, and the guys back in the day, we would find out about them. They would call up to get something or buy it, and we would just recognize the name and say, "Oh, what kind of gym is that?" And they're like, "Oh, we're primarily boxing or whatever." We do have a lot of athletes on our equipment and pictures. We can't always use a lot of them, but we've been involved with like the UFC and the Ultimate Fighter show, and we have like Hugh Jackman's always posting pictures of him on his rowing machine. That's not something we did. He just does it on his own. As a matter of fact, we've tried to contact him because we like the guy and we can't even get in touch with him. But there's a lot of celebrities and athletes that like our stuff. I think primarily because it is a really good strength to weight ratio training tool. So, if you want to look good like an actor or model, or you're in a sport with a weight class or something like that, it really lends itself well to those types of things.
Explain that a little bit more, because I think that's, the technical aspect of why the rowing motion is so effective for fitness. And I prefer high intensity interval training. I hate running. I played soccer in college and I played semi-pro, and I just hate running. It's not fun for me. It's not meditative for me. It's a pain in my ass. So when I work out, I want to work out really hard, and I want to get tired and sweaty, and then I want to be done with it. Can you, that strength to weight ratio, the sort of beautification of the body, why is rowing such a key workout?
Well, that's another thing why the rower is so popular, any of our equipment, because you get your resistance by how much you either, drive with the legs and pull the handles on the rower or pull down the handles on the skier. It sucks air in, and that's what causes your resistance. So it lends itself well to both high intensity interval training or long slow distance. And there's very few pieces of equipment that are good at both in doing that. So, I mean, we didn't go to CrossFit. CrossFit was already using our equipment, because you can wreck an elite athlete. If you said, I want you to get as many meters as you can in a minute, a lot of these guys will be throwing up in a minute. But you can also take an athlete and say, listen, I want you to row a marathon, 42,000 meters plus. And you could sit on it and you would treat it like you were running a marathon. You would just pace yourself. So it's very good as far as molding to what you need it to do for your sport. But the rowing motion itself is, and I tell people that anytime you're looking for a piece of equipment, or even in life, you want to get as many changes in body angle. So you want your knees to bend, you want your hips to move, you want your arms to move, and you want to work as a unit. It's just a lot of the pieces of equipment that are out there. And yes, we make a bike, but when you're on a bike, it's primarily your legs, and your hip is always it's never open. There's just certain things that don't happen. But with a rowing machine, you're going from a compact position where your knees at 90 degrees, you're leaning forward, your scapulas are down, your arms are straight, and then there's this wave of contraction that goes calves, quads, open the hips, slight lay back, tight core, hands in. You're actually going through this wave of contraction that literally goes from your ankles to your shoulders. And there's just nothing else that really does that. And it will do it every stroke for as long as you want to go. Yeah. And then there's the whole, you look at aesthetics, why people like it is that, yes, it's very good about burning body fat and all that stuff, but you're basically doing a mini crunch on every stroke, which doesn't seem like much until you do it for 30 minutes and you realize, oh my God, that's, 1,000 mini crunches that you're doing on every stroke, So if you just row and don't care about the rest of it, the good stuff will happen. You don't have to think about it. It just happens. It is a hip opening, which we've learned in power sports is very important. You need that power from your hips. And then the skier, again, we made it so that you're pulling down, you're squatting, and you're actually closing the hips. And it's an opening and closing of the hips, which I think is one of the reasons why we do so well in our equipment. So.
Yeah. I mean, is it easy to fall out of form and reach too far or not engage? Is that, based on your experience, of course there's proper form for it, but is there any, is there any risk of injury if you're reaching too far or pulling back too hard? Where do people get hung up in that rowing motion?
Yeah. When you search the internet, everyone says, it used to be really bad. It's gotten a lot better. Oh, rowing can be bad for your back and this and that. And it's kind of bunk for the most part. I mean, yes, you need decent technique, but if bad technique really hurt everybody, if you looked on Instagram and online, almost everybody rows like crap and very few people hurt themselves. So, but even if you row with less than perfect technique, you're going to get your sweat on, you're going to increase your heart rate, you're going to have to make muscular contractions just to do the movement. So it will work with bad technique. And you should always strive to have good technique, and you'll be more efficient with good technique. But it's one of the problems that I have here is that some people harp on it so much that it scares people away from rowing. I would rather have somebody start rowing and say, you know what, this is good. I'm getting good results. I'm going to go online. I'm going to try to find some help on how to improve my technique. And they're going to go from there and they're going to improve their technique. Now, if somebody was going to try to make a team and wanted to row on the water, rowing on the water is very technical because you'll end up swimming every 5 minutes if you don't have good technique. The nice thing about a rowing machine, you don't get the only wet you get is from sweat. You're not gonna flip the boat. You're not gonna do any of that stuff. So, yes, good technique is very important. But if you don't have a pre-existing condition or, shoulder, back injuries and stuff like that, you can get away with, not perfect technique in hopes that you'll gain better technique as you start to row and learn what you're doing and that sort of thing.
Yeah, you'll kind of learn on your own what's working and what's not working.
Yeah. But I mean, that's the thing is, I'd rather have somebody, if someone's overweight or somebody wants to improve their life and they say, well, I'm not going to row until I learn all this technique on the internet.
Yeah.
I'll be like, put the computer down, sit down, we'll start, and then we'll work on the technique, we'll get that. So
sounds like Concept2 company culture. Right?
Like we have the expertise, we have the Olympians, we can dial in technique to the point where we would bore you to death with how nitpicky we can be. But that's not for everybody, it's that's why when I talk to an athlete, and I say athlete could be anybody from somebody working out in their basement to someone trying to make an Olympic team. When they come to you and say, these are the changes I want to make in my life or my body or my performance, then we will dictate the direction we go into as far as down that path and what they need and that sort of thing.
Yeah. So it's the Olympics, right?
Yep.
Tell me some cool stories about any athletes that use the Concept2 or success stories. Are there any Olympians? Of course there are. That train that train really really regularly with your guys' equipment.
Well, yeah, of course. Every on-water rower in the Olympics trains and has to train hours and hours on our rowing machine. This being the Winter Olympics, I would say a good portion of all the biathletes and Nordic skiers use our ski erg. The owner's daughter is competing right now in biathlon. Emily Dreissigacker, their other daughter, Hannah Dreissigacker, competed, I believe, in Sochi. We're very closely connected to Nordic skiing. Of course, being here in Vermont, we actually are 20 minutes from one of the best Nordic ski centers in the U.S. that has a biathlon range. Most of us either skied or coached or did something in Nordic skiing. And that's really how the ski erg was invented, was because we wanted a way to get away from roller skiing, which we do in the summertime here because it's dangerous and traffic. So we're staring at the rowing machine going, there's got to be a way we can take this technology and make something that's going to help us with our skiing. And through that came what was the Ski Erg 1, which we then improved on to what we call the Ski Erg 2, which is the black ski erg that everyone sees now. But yeah, there's some over there now as far as for warm-ups with athletes. But actually one of the women that just won gold, she's from Germany. She trains on it and they post pictures and stuff. But the ski ergs, just like the rower, we have more people that use the rower that aren't on-water rowers. We have far more people that use the ski erg for fitness than actually ski. But that's just based on, we pick the two most obscure sports probably out there to go towards. But the nice thing is that a lot of people have started on the rowing machine or started with the ski erg and go, you know what, I'm got all this fitness on this machine. I should go out and try the sport, which is really what we want people to do, is to get outside and do this stuff too. So,
that's cool. So you actually know of people who got on the skier long enough and thought, you know what, I'm going to go go outside and go ski.
Oh yeah. It's, and a lot of them are like around here in the Boston area and stuff. They'll drive up to Vermont to come and ski. And this one guy actually messaged me and he said, what did he say? He's like, I'm going to be up in Craftsbury is the Nordic Center that's near us. And I knew him as a CrossFitter. And he's like, I'm going up to go skiing. And I thought that was the coolest thing, is like he had been used the ski erg, he liked it, and so he wanted to try it on snow. A lot of the CrossFit or the people who train on the rowing machine think that they want to row on the water, and then we put them on the water, and they realize quickly that it's much harder to row on the water than it is a rowing machine on there. So
yeah,
Yeah, especially in the right, you can get very stable shells, but there are some that are quite tippy.
Yeah, I can just imagine some 188 pound, 4% body fat beast master who's been rowing for years and decides to jump out of the water and try his hand and in a rowing in an actual water row. I can imagine that'd be interesting.
We live that. So I'm friends with Matt Fraser, who's won the CrossFit Games the last couple of years. He's from Vermont. He's recently moved to Tennessee. But, in the CrossFit world, they never know what they're going to have to do. They have to be ready for anything at the games, and nobody knows what it is. And, they threw a real cyclocross at him this year. And so Matt comes to me and goes, "Hey, can you teach me how to row in case they make us row at the CrossFit Games?" And I'm like, dude, I don't think that's going to happen. It's not that easy. I don't think they're going to make these athletes do it. And kind of blew him off. And then it got closer to the games. Like, no, really, I really want you to, because there's lakes all around now where they have it in Madison, Wisconsin. He goes, "I just want to be ready just in case." So I'm like, okay, we packed him in the truck. We drove up. We're in the middle of nowheres on this place. And I brought one of the Judy Greer, who's one of the founders here. And she was in the Olympics for rowing. So I got him an Olympic rower as a coach. And we got him a middle of the road racing shell and put him in the water. And he was twitching. He was could barely keep it upright. And he kind of paddled around a little bit, came back to the dock. He goes, "Yep, there's no way they're going to put somebody in the boats." But a lot of people, they see it on the Olympics and it looks so fast and it looks so intriguing. But people don't realize the skill it takes to go that fast in a boat that's literally about as wide as your backside.
Yeah.
It's impressive. I'm not an on-water rower. We'll go out occasionally, but it's much harder than it looks.
Yeah, it looks hard. It looks really hard. I bet. So, you're pretty integrated into the, obviously, friends with Matt Fraser and integrated, and just, a minute on your Instagram, and I get a sense of sort of the culture that you live in. And we're a supplement company, right? And performance is what we're about. What do those guys, besides the creatine, besides the stuff, do you have any idea how they supplement? Do you have any idea what they take? Performance, is there a fine line? Do any of them are they on steroids? Do any of them test? I'm super curious about it because I'm so ignorant to it.
Right. No, and I could be the most naive person in the world, but my friends that are in the sports that I've known forever, it would crush me to find out if they were. Although you go on, there's all the haters that say, "Oh, everyone does this and that." But when they see the work, I do see the work they put in and what they put into their nutrition. And, they're all, a lot of them have sponsors with, paleo meal companies and, the best of the best. And these days it's very rare to find somebody who has a job, their job is training. So, I look at them and what they do. And in Matt's background, he trained with the Olympics for years. So, here's a guy that spent this part of his life at the Olympic training facility with the best athletes, and he got really good at Olympic lifting. And to see him switch over to this with perfect diet and 8 hours to train and his work ethic, which is second to none, I would say that, it's good, clean food. It's a lot of protein and it's a lot of hours of technique and gym work and stuff like that. Now, there's also hundreds of athletes that are regional level and above, and I might know 10% of them. So to say that it's completely clean, who knows? There's a lot of money in the sport now, and I think that might corrupt it. But when I first started going to the games, it was literally at Dave Castro's ranch, and there was no real prizes, and you did it because you loved it and stuff. But it's tough when money gets into any sport. We see it all the time, but, I think I'm a very good judge of character, and my close friends that I know in the sport, I would just be absolutely shocked if there was anything other than hard work and clean eating. And I wouldn't want their life. It's literally, I could not do the hours they do in the gym, So.
Yeah. I watched the Netflix documentary about it and floored, inspired, impressed, and just absolutely just taken aback at the level of time and commitment. I'm curious, because you and I were talking before we went on about Siltep, and we were talking about how you had never really messed with, nootropics and cognitive enhancers and focusing, mental vitamins, basically brain vitamins. And I gotta imagine that a large group of them, just like any sport, are taking, a whole bunch of supplements with fish oil or magnesium or whatever. And I'd just be really curious to figure out like what these guys, in addition to getting their macros dialed, every ounce of food is measured and clean and good. But I'm curious, like, do they take vitamins, like as far as you know?
Yeah, I would say most of them are geared around recovery because of the hours that they. So I think fish oil is a staple, and that's been a staple of, of CrossFit and high intensity training forever. I remember when I first started, the funny joke was, if you can't fix it with squats or fish oil, you're probably going to die. Because squats and fish oil, that's, you can live life just by those two things. And so I would think the fish oil and the recovery, like the magnesium stuff, the science of sleep. I mean, in the past, it used to be a badge of honor to say I work out and never sleep. I don't need to sleep. I'm just that. But thank God that changed, because I'm someone who needs at least 8 hours of sleep and, in recovery. And I'm only training maybe an hour a day, and these guys are training, 6 to 8 hours a day. So there's that, but they also do a lot of the, the Normatec pants, the recovery stuff that, voodoo flossing and mobility and I mean, it's unreal. I mean, and that's why I said, like, way back when I'm old enough to be a master's, I'm like, oh man, it'd be fun to make the game someday as a master's. And then I see what these masters are putting in for hours, and I'm like, I can't do it. I couldn't hold a job and do that training. And it's a dream anyways, because I don't even know if I had the physical abilities to ever do it, much less the rest of it. So, yeah. Well,
I mean, I can only see from your shoulders up, but based on the traps I see, I'm sure you'd be able to get into shape pretty good, man. Don't sell yourself short, Greg.
I do tell people that, if I get out of shape, I'll probably lose my job, because, you got to be able to sell your equipment. So if I want to be here for another, 10 to 15 years, I got to look like I know what I'm talking about. Like next week, I'll be at the Arnold trade show. I'll probably be the smallest guy at the Arnold trade show, except for maybe some of the Taekwondo guys. So to be honest, in the mornings after my row, ski, or bike, I have been known to throw down a couple of arm curls just in case. So I get out there.
Is that your routine? Is that your sort of daily workout? Is row or ski or bike?
In the mornings, I'm always trying different things. So normally it was all high intensity interval training, and I have another nice part of my job is I get to talk to some of the best trainers in the world about different things. And I have this great trainer, Peter Park, who's out of Santa Barbara, California, who just put out this great book. I think it's called Rebounding. And I read it, and he was saying, it was interesting because I've never really talked to him about it, but he was saying that, he loves high intensity interval training. It's great. But one of the things you lose, when I came into doing all this stuff, I was an endurance guy, and I would win everything that involved anything out 20 minutes to an hour. I was the guy, as long as it wasn't really heavy. Well, then I got really good at lifting weights really quickly and heavy weights. And I lost the ability to just have a buddy call and say, hey, we're going to do a 3-hour trail run. And I was like, well, wow, I can't do that. And so he was saying about throwing back in, and I even hate to say, because one of the best things about doing high intensity interval training was throwing away my heart rate chest belt. Well, now I own one again. And in the mornings I do moderate heart rate, either row, ski, bike for a minimum of half an hour to 45 minutes, steady state. And then after work is when I do my high intensity stuff. And I've just been kind of seeing what changes happen in my body, putting that back in, because I do really like, and as I get older, I do really like and respect the ability to go long and steady, as well as be able to throw down and go intense for 10 to 15 minutes or whatever it takes. I like to be able to play both games if I could.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
How closely do you watch? I mean, as far as your heart rate, do you try to stay in like a fat burning zone, or do you kind of know what range you're in?
Well, what was suggested by his book is for me. So he was trained by Moffatone. So he's kind of goes by I believe it's 180 minus your age.
Right.
And stay there. And so I've been doing that. So for me, that's like, I try to keep it between like 132 and 142, and not start the timer until I'm in that zone. And then what I do is I track how many meters that I go, and I've been plotting it so that I should be able to prove that it's working. If my heart rate stays the same and I'm going further in the same amount of time, then I'm getting more fit. And that's at least on that part of it. So down in my basement, I've got my whiteboard and the date, and I do all that stuff on there. And then when it's CrossFit time, it's whatever. We've got Jay Jenny, who programs for Champlain Valley CrossFit, where I go. He's a great programmer. And basically whatever he has on the board is what I do in the afternoon, and just go hard as I can for the workout. And he also programs strength as well. So
is it nice to have somebody else choose your workout? Is that?
Oh, absolutely love it. I mean, that's really was one of the things too, is so when I first started doing CrossFit, I'm like, so I go to this website and they just tell me what to do and I don't pay them anything. And I'm like, this is great. It's because I'd always done my own programming, except for maybe when high school and in college, when I was running, our coach would give you your running workouts. But that was one of the things that sold me the most, is I can just do what it tells me to do. And I go as hard as I can, and I'm done after. I'm like, this is great. And so that's what it was, a big selling point for me. So.
Yeah. Yeah. I get that. I totally get that. And on that note too, I just want to remind everybody, all the listeners that are high achieving, hard charging, looking for an edge, our listeners are so sharp. They're so knowledgeable. The biohacking element, the nutrition, the exercise, we have tons of CrossFitters. And people are seriously clamoring to get their hands on this giveaway. And we've paired it just recently. I don't know if you noticed it, but we're pairing it with a heart rate monitor. So you're gonna get the rower, and then you're gonna get a Polar H10 heart rate monitor, so that you can actually track and apply that 180 minus your age to find that that optimal heart rate range. And while I'll just plug it while I'm here. Go to naturalstacks.com/concept2, and that's where you can enter to win. And every time that you enter, you get when you enter, you get your name in. And if you share, every time you share it, you're entered 3 more times into the contest. So, people are. I don't know if Ben's talked to you about it, but people are really stoked about it.
Yeah, well, I've heard about it from a couple other people too, and it's a good fit. And being that I listen to a lot of the biohacking podcasts and this stuff, and I've heard of Paleo FX and a lot of the things that Natural Stacks goes to. It's actually an interesting market that I might start looking into. Is maybe we'll start getting a couple of booths, because it's nothing more fun than to talk to people who really care so much about their health, about your product, because you're seeing eye to eye, and they're like, okay, they already care so much about what they're putting into their body, what's something else. And I don't know if equipment companies go to those sort of things, but it might be a good fit, do something like that.
I think it totally would be, because these guys, they're accountable, they're interested, they're engaged, like they're knowledgeable, they do the research, I would encourage you to take a look at it. If you need to get, I would pick a warm weather destination for the cold Vermont winters, because we're up here in the Northwest, and we are smack dab in the middle of the Seattle gray rain. Like, this is it, man. We're right in the middle of why Seattle's depressing. But that's just me.
Yeah. Well, we're the same way. We don't see a lot of sun in the winter times, and it's funny because even before I got into all this stuff, my family's always been big sauna people. And I was in my sauna last night, and it's funny for me, even besides the heat shock proteins and all that stuff that you get out of it, it's mental. I can literally close my eyes in my sauna and I can think of summer, and it's a mental thing. It's this boost of for 45 minutes, I can just take myself out of it, in there. So yeah, it's being in Vermont is tough, but it's also nice with these trade shows, like doing stuff like that it's my way that work pays for me to go and listen to other really smart people talk.
Yeah.
When I say other people, I should just say smart people talk, because I just sit there with a notepad. I'm like, yeah, that's a great idea. I learned so much from listening to guys like yourself and other podcasts. And, it's great because work literally would be, it's all joined. If I had to go to this or if I went to one of those with the rowers, I would also use it to benefit myself and pay attention and listen to classes and stuff like that and take it back here.
Yeah. I think that nowadays there's so much good information out there that people are just informed. They just, in a minute, they can look up the rower. They can see, oh, okay, this is the most elite piece of equipment that we can get. This is the best rower available. The same with their nutrition, the same with, biohacking and heart rate monitors. People can figure that stuff out so quickly now that you've got to be informed, and you've got to be able to talk the talk, because people are with it. And it honestly puts a little bit of stress on me too as a podcast host, because I've got to know everything as well, because I've got to know as much as our most informed listener, so that I can stay on top of it. And you're right. I need to go do some. Maybe we'll meet for Paleo FX, or go to Primal Con or whatever, and hang out and learn about biohacking stuff.
Well, I will say too, like with the rowing and like the skier and our equipment, stuff like that, it's the good and bad that I see with the internet is, if you do a search, a lot of times you'll get YouTube videos and the guy will say, I'm an expert at rowing and this is how I tell you to do it. There are more people that should not be on the internet than are on it. I said it weird, but I would say go to Concept2 first. And then some of the other good ones, as far as rowing goes, there's a website called Dark Horse Rowing. He's really good. Shane Farm with some great videos. A You Can Row 2 group out of Minnesota, they're really good. And then British Rowing, any of the rowing federations are really good. But then also too, if anybody ever has a question on that sort of thing, call Concept2. Literally anybody who's going to answer the phone here uses our equipment and can help anybody. Anybody who answers. We don't have a call center or anything like that. The person you talk to at Concept2 is down the hall from me right now, and they'll probably be in the workout room later this afternoon, and that kind of thing. So
I think it's kind of an interesting point to make, right? Like the experts like yourself, like the people at Concept2, they do it, right? They're about it. They don't need to talk about it as much as talk is cheap, and there's a lot of quote unquote experts that want to be relevant and that are talking about the best way or the best stuff, or this is how I do it. But the people that show up and do the work and are experts by practice, and just either A, put out great content, or B, put out great equipment because they live it. It's part of their lifestyle. I think there's a big distinction there.
It is. Yeah. I think you're right. You really got to watch what's out there. But the nice thing is that, at least with us, is that we can be a filter for some people if they're not sure what they're seeing is the right thing. And, a lot of people just don't know they can call and talk to people anymore because they think everything's a call center, or you're not going to get the right person. But I get it on Instagram a lot, and I won't call anybody out, but I get people sending me pictures and videos and like wanting a pat on the back saying, hey, look what I did. And you're just like, oh, I don't know, man, that doesn't look that great, but you try to be encouraging. We've seen our equipment used in some really weird ways, not even what it was intended use would be. And you just, it's tough they want you to be happy for them, and it's really hard to be sometimes.
Wait a minute. What do you mean? What are they using?
There's one person that just sent me a video, and they had like the rowers organized in a way where they're putting like a hand on each seat and their feet on each seat, and they were kind of like doing like a star motion with the monorails. And I literally had to tell the guy, I'm like, that thing makes a great rowing machine as well as an ab machine. And I hope he got my sarcasm, because I'm like, that just looks like a great way to break your nose. It has nothing to do with fitness whatsoever. And then we got people that they go, oh, I row, but I do a arm curl, bicep curl at the end of my rowing stroke. And they want you to be happy that they figure out this way to combine arm curls and rowing. And I said, well, here's a suggestion. How about you row harder with better technique and then get off and do some dumbbell curls, because you're probably going to get a better stimulus than if you try to do bicep curls on a rowing machine.
Right.
But you never want to hurt anybody's feelings, and they're so happy about what they've thought they had going for them and stuff. So I try to steer away from it when I can.
using 2 rowing machines as a skier on your feet, and while you're doing like shoulder press.
We had people use the skiers as golf trainers. We have it's all kinds of weird stuff, because the skier itself, I mean, it's 2 handles that come out of a machine with a cord on it, and there's a lot of other good machines that are out there that they can use for strength, like cable machines are great. To use a skier as a cable machine is not a great idea. But yet in the gyms, we'll see people trying to do it right next to an actual cable machine. So it's kind of hard sometimes.
And then you just got to be cool about it, and not make people feel silly, just like, hey, do your thing, man.
My philosophy is, if somebody wants to exercise, no matter what it is, if someone's made the choice to exercise, I'll back it 100%.
Totally.
I'll give my opinion, but I never want someone to be intimidated about working out. Even if they know nothing, if they're willing to get their sweat on and make a change in their life, I'm backing it. And if I see something that doesn't look right, I might say, hey, how about maybe trying this? Something like that. So
yeah. No, that's good, man. That's a. I can tell you're a classy guy, Greg. You're not bossing anybody around. You're not making anybody feel small. You're just doing your thing, and you happen to be an expert in some stuff, and that's okay.
The expert's tough. Yeah, I don't know. See, I've been doing it a long time. I'll say that. But I even look at some of 15 years ago, I was doing videos on some rowing technique and stuff that at the time was how we taught rowing. That I look back now and I'm like, I probably wouldn't have taught it that way, or there's been some changes, or there's some things that you learn along the way. And that's another bad thing about the internet, is that as new ideas come and some better ones the old ones still stay there, and you never really know like where that was, where was that technology, or what were they thinking back then versus now. Just like some old coaches versus new coaches, some old coaches will live and die by what they were taught by their coach, as opposed to looking at new ideas and being accepting of them and saying, well, wait a second, this coach over here who's new, who's half my age, has some good points. Maybe I'll put those in mind. People are really stuck on saying, I'm an expert, my way is the best way. And they don't really look at what's out there,
Well, it begs the question, like, based on what you know about technology and fitness and tracking, and at the high level of, your friends that are, the world class, what's the future of fitness? Where are things trending? And I won't hold you to it, but I'm super curious. Yeah. Like, where's it going?
It's so individualized. Like I look at that too. So I like to separate it. So there's human performance for a goal. I want to make the Olympics in X sport, so I'm going to do this. Like, you look at Tour de France riders, they're amazing what they do. Huge cardiovascular, just great at cycling. But they have massive quads, and their upper body's kind of in balance. And if you took them out of their sport and they were just were going to live a good life, and it had anything to do with, they're probably not. They developed themselves to an elite level in one direction. Me personally now, and I think it's because partially my age, is it's like, what's really important. We all want to move well. We want to be able to play and have fun as long as we can in our life. We want to have good mobility and not be sick. I mean, for me personally, I'm hoping that's the direction that fitness is going. Mental health, mobility, slowing down as much as we can the aging process, so that at 80 we can still be playing the sports we love and things like that. And I do find now that, there's sometimes that those lines they don't work out. If you pick one sport and only do that one sport, it might lead you down a path that goes away from the overall fitness and the longevity, but that's a personal choice. And I'll never, if somebody says, I'm going to be the best bench press guy in the world, I'm going to train that every day, and I'm going to be, I'm going to lift 1,000 pounds or whatever, that's great. I respect that 100%. Now, if someone said, Greg, do you think that I'll live a great life till I'm 80 and be mobile and, and enjoy life? I'm like, well, maybe you should start throwing some other things in besides just that, that kind of thing. So I respect it, but at my age now, I'm hoping that fitness is going better nutrition, better recovery, so that, when we're 80, everyone's saying, wow, he looks like he's 50.
Yeah.
That kind of.
Yeah. No, I think
mentally as well.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I think recovery is, just because that's the arena that I work in with owning, sensory deprivation tank centers. We've got, NFL quarterbacks and, MLS Cup winners that really don't have a recovery regimen that they follow that's really effective for them. Like Netflix on the couch isn't a great recovery method. And there's hyperbaric, there's access to hyperbaric chambers, and there's cryotherapy. And for the guys that come in and float with us and use sensory deprivation as a recovery mechanism, to get the absorption of the magnesium sulfate, the Epsom salt to, flush your lymph and reduce swelling. I think more tech, more focused and customized sort of bespoke recovery, like to know your own genetics and to know like you have a predisposition for this or that. I think I'm excited because I think that's where it gets really technical. And I think when you look at, I'm sure that Matt Frazier has, teams of people, or at least a couple of people that are concerned with his, not only his blood type, but the way that he works out and the way that he recovers and has a tendency to do this or that. But I think as performance increases and as fitness increases and the technology gets better, I think custom recovery is a cool arena. What do you do besides?
I agree 100%. I think the body, for me, being my degrees in health science, I think the body, muscles, bones, that's the easy part. It's the DNA, it's the blood work, it's the inflammation markers. To me, blows me away. And this is where I started listening to all the podcasts, because I'm like, when I was going to school, I never had any of my professors talk about that. It was like it didn't happen. And I think that's where the technology could go. I just hope that it's more affordable. And when you go to your doctor and say, I want to do blood work, not because I'm sick, but because I don't want to get sick, and they say, okay, and they don't charge you an arm and a leg, I hope it's going in that direction, but I'm not so sure it is anytime soon.
Yeah. So. No, that's an excellent point. I mean, stem cells. We did a podcast about stem cells a couple of episodes ago. Do you have any experience? Have you ever tried stem cell therapy?
No, but I've had enough injuries over the years that it's definitely piqued my interest. So
I can make some introductions if you want. There are places in the country. In fact, there's a place in Utah with a guy, Archibald. Oh man, I'm blanking on his first name. Darn it. Regan Archibald, who does stem cells. It's legal. It's above board. You can either get them from yourself, or you can get them from a donor, or you can get them from, so like Roy, co-founder of Natural Stacks, he's banking in a cryo. He's cryo banking the umbilical cord and of the birth of his child, so that he can use those stem cells for not only the baby in the future, in case you need to regrow a kidney or whatever, but he can use those stem cells for himself because he's a genetic match. It's fascinating to hear some of the anecdotal stories about people that are recovering from, tearing a rotator cuff or, needing hip replacement and instead going with, a series of 2 stem cell injections to repair. I think it's fascinating because we do. I think we all want to be able, just like you said, to run and jump and do and play into our 70s and 80s. And I don't think it's ridiculous to think that we're going to be able to do that,
No, I think I definitely think that I think the uphill battle is, I've tore infraspinatus and supraspinatus and had surgery that, got infected because of the surgery and they had to rebuild it and all that stuff. And I came out okay from it. But if I had the option back then, they said, Greg, we've got this stuff, stem cells, it might work, it might not. I would have taken an injection over them filleting my shoulder open any day. But then again, is the hospital going to make as much money? And I just feel like we got to make a change in the system so that they can offer a lesser priced injection versus a very, very expensive surgery so that they can make their money. And, I think it will go that way. I think the technology right now in PT is really good, but you're right. If we can fix the cartilage issue and the inflammation issue and people want to feel like they want to work out, even better. Like my mom, she was an athlete, but she stopped working out because her knee started bothering her, and stuff like that. And it's like, if you can stop that from happening, most people will be mobile. They'll be active. It's fun to be active, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So,
well, and if it's part of your culture, it's part of your reality, and like it is for our listeners, and obviously for Concept2 as a company. What are you looking forward to? I'm trying to think, as we sort of get toward the home stretch. What do you think our people should know? Somebody's gonna win one of these things, and we've highlighted some of the benefits and technique, and just get on the thing and just use it. Like, start using it, and don't stand on the seat and do scissor legs. Like, use it for what it's worth. What's a good first exercise setting for somebody that wants to, like, it looks like fun, they want to go do it? Where should they start?
Yeah, I mean, if they're lucky enough to win this one or to go see one in the gym that they've never used before, first thing is just, if it's in a gym, we do have a damper lever on the side. It goes 1 to 10. What people don't realize, it's not like a weight stack. It's not like a 10 is going to be heavier than a 1. The way that the resistance is made on a rower is by the air getting sucked in. So if it's on a 10 and you pull easy, it'll feel easy. And if it's on a 1 but you pull hard, it's going to feel hard. That hard easy is within every damper range. So best thing to do is start in the middle, 3, 4, 5, something like that. And then you're not going to go out of the gate gangbusters. You're going to try just sliding up and down the seat and just getting a feel for it. And most people, when they do that, they go, oh, there's no resistance on this machine, because they're not pulling hard enough to create that resistance. And so what I'll have somebody do is do 10 strokes, and each one progressively driving back with a little bit more force. And then instantly the light bulb goes off and they go, okay, I know how this machine works now. And from there, depending on how fit you are to start, something as easy as 10 minutes to 30 minutes of steady state, and do just like I was talking about before, is whatever your time domain is, see how far you go. And the next day, very simple, get on it, try to beat it by 1 meter, 5 meters, 10 meters, and just keep doing that. And as you try to beat your score, you're inadvertently going to be putting more intensity into rowing. And so you can either do it, doing it that way, and then learning to monitor, because there are split times on there that will actually stroke for stroke tell you how hard you're rowing. And once you learn those, you can kind of figure out your pacing and things like that. So
excellent rowing 101, because that's new to me. Yeah. So Ben has one, obviously. Ben has one at his place, and I was over there for the Super Bowl, and I got on it for just a second, and just started, just like you said, just sat down and started to row a little bit. Didn't mess any. It was his, and it looked so organized, right in his little space. I didn't want to start pulling knobs and reefing on it, because that's my tendency, is to just go from 0 to 100. Yeah. And so I just sort of messed with it for a second, and it was fun, and I kind of got into a little bit of a rhythm, and thought, you know what, I'm in jeans and a sweater, and if I sit on this thing any longer, I'm just going to start working out, and I'm going to start sweating through my clothes. So I'm just going to wait a minute. But
it's that flow you talk about. The nice thing is that it is a rhythmic exercise. And so a lot of people do like the mental part of it being on it. There's some flow to it, and the sound it makes is a whoosh, whoosh sound that you're making with the air. And there's something to be said for that rhythmic sound. People do take to the rower just right off the bat. They just, there's something about it that's intriguing to them. And it's not a motion that most people would have ever have done on anything other than a rowing machine, so they do like it. The ski erg as well. The ski erg probably is a little bit easier to just get on and do, because you just walk up to it, grab the handles, and, if anyone's ever seen, double poling or skiing, I mean, oddly enough, we sell more to probably warm weather states than cold weather states, but they figure it out pretty quick. And same with the jiu-jitsu guys. They'd been using rubber bands in the same way for years before the skier came out. So,
right.
Yeah.
Well, I think that wraps it, man. I appreciate you. I appreciate you coming on and sharing your knowledge. And we as a company, as an organization, we at Natural Stacks like working with other companies whose heart is in the right spot. And it's so clear to me in the history and the heritage and the way that you guys navigate through this world with integrity. We're stoked to partner on this thing and give this thing away. And I've learned a lot through this episode. Where can people learn more information? Should they reach out to you personally? Where should they follow you? Like where can people get into the culture?
Well, Concept2.com is the best way to go. You can literally learn the culture from the website. It's not very salesy. Like I said, we're not very salesy. And I do listen to podcasts where they have people come on who have products like myself. And I hope this didn't sound too salesy either, because that's really not us. But that's the best way. I'm on Instagram more than anything else, and that's Concept2 Greg. And that literally is also not a sales thing. Basically, you'll rarely see pictures of myself on there. I try to promote the people that are using our product. We have an amazing community on there that you'll see, at least for mine. We work a lot with adaptive athletes. And so you see a lot of my adaptive buddies on there quite a bit, whether they're skiing from their wheelchair, or they've taken the monorail off the rower and they're rowing from there. There's a fair bit of CrossFit stuff, motocross, action sports, just because that's a passion of mine. You'll see some Conor McGregor stuff maybe on there. It's just a little bit of the things that I like come out of there, but it's not salesy in any way. You won't necessarily see a lot of stuff about how do I buy a rowing machine. Yeah. All that stuff, go to concept2.com. But more, by all means, if people enjoy rowing and they're fans of your show and they just want to reach out, post up a picture of them on their rowing machine and tag me in it. And, I love watching it and see where everybody is. So
dig it. Well, that does it for this episode of the OPP. Greg, thanks for coming and joining us on.
Yeah, it was awesome, Sean. Thank you very much.